All right, guys, so I'm going to show you how to do the ball joints on your 05 to 07 F250, 350. It's probably applicable to the 6.4 trucks. Not going to be a whole lot different. Probably the 6.7s as well, steel bodies, but we're going to get right into it. I've already done the passenger side on this truck, so today we're just going to be tackling the driver's side. It's really no different on either side. Just the axle shaft is a little bit longer on the passenger side, but the procedure is still pretty much exactly the same. All right, so what you want to do is you want to jack the truck up and secure it with a jack stand. And then obviously take the wheel off. And then the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna pull this brake caliper off. So it's 21 millimeter, you got a bolt here, and then you have a bolt down here at the bottom. So you're gonna remove those two bolts, and then you're gonna wanna take a 5-gallon bucket or something like this. That way you can put this brake caliper on there and you're not putting a bunch of tension on your line, because if you put too much tension on it, you could start to break it and then you could have leaks. So just make sure you have something to set your brake caliper up on, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, I know it looks like I'm kind of skipping a step, but once you got that brake caliper off, you're going to just slide your brake rotor off. It just slides right off of there. And then what you're gonna do next is you're going to take a T27 Torx bit, and you're gonna remove these 3 screws for your locking hubs. And then you will take a putty knife and work around the edge of this right here, where it mates up here. You're gonna work a putty knife around there, and that's gonna come right out. All right, guys, so our next step is going to be removing this cotter pin, this little cover, and then we're gonna take this nut off that's all below it. So I'm gonna take that cotter pin out, and take this little cap off. If you can't get them cotter pins off, sometimes you gotta break them. This truck is pretty clean, so it came right out a minute ago. Then we're gonna pop this nut off here. It's stuck in the socket. That is a 21 millimeter or a 13/16. Okay, yes, we're gonna leave that on there. And then what we're gonna do, I'm gonna tap that down with a hammer, and it should just pop right down. So once you got that pop loose, just take this nut right back off, and then we're just gonna let this hang down here. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to take this wheel hub off. I am going to take this sensor loose right here, this ABS sensor. I'm gonna take it loose right there. You could loosen it here, there, and then just unplug it right there and take it all off with this wheel hub. But like I said, I'm going to remove it here at this little sensor, and then just leave all that wiring in place. You can do it either way, it doesn't really matter. So now that I have this sensor out of the way, I put my bolt back in there, and I put a little cap in there. That way I don't knock any dirt. And then what you're gonna do is we're gonna be removing this wheel hub. So there's 4 nuts on the back side, 1 down here, 1 up here, and then same thing on this side. I took the other 2 out, but right there and then right there, you're gonna remove all 4 of those nuts, and then this wheel hub is going to come off. So after you got all them nuts off there, you just take your hammer and just kind of hit around this a little bit lightly, kind of hit on this a little bit, to try to break some of it loose a little bit. That way it's not all like super seized up and whatnot. And then I stuck my putty knife in here, and I got it broke loose here. Got to where my putty knife goes in. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work my way all around that until this wheel hub actually comes off. So now that that's kind of out of the way a little bit more, we're going to just take this little 8mm bolt right here out. That way we can set this completely out of the way and not have to deal with it anymore. Because we can't leave that on this knuckle because we're going to have to take this off. And then you're also going to spray some WD-40 on this and then work it with a little hose pick or maybe like a flat screwdriver, whatever works best for you. And you're gonna remove this hose off there. And then that should be everything that's still tied up on this knuckle. And then yeah, next thing we're gonna do is just remove this axle shaft. All right, whenever I took that axle shaft out, I kicked my camera stand and didn't get very good footage, but what I did was I wasn't strong enough with one hand, so I put two hands over here on this side, and I put it behind that little deal on the round part on the axle shaft where the seal is, and I just pried out on it with both hands and ended up to get it to break loose. You pull it just straight out, comes out pretty easy once you got it like totally broke loose. And then you want to inspect those U-joints while you have this out. These ones look pretty bad. You want to give them the kind of like the field test. Try to set my phone up here decent. Can't really see much. I don't know how well you guys can see, but you just want to inspect the play at these U-joints. So I don't know if you can see or hear. But we do got some play there. So I'm probably gonna end up replacing those. Or just on this side, at least the other side looked okay. But I'm gonna replace those U-joints. And you guys wanna always inspect that whenever you pull these out, because at, however many miles your truck has, mine has 215,000. By this time, those U-joints are pretty shot and in need of replacing. So always make sure that you check those out, inspect your parts as you remove them, make sure none of them are damaged or broken, and then we're about there. We're about ready to pull that knuckle off and get these ball joints out. So now I'm removing these ball joints. I moved my brake caliper to this side. I don't remember why. But I got my 1 5/16" socket right here. I got a little swivel adapter and then the extension on here. I turned this all the way over. I had to pick my brake caliper up like so. Turn it like this. Put your socket on there like so. Run it out with an impact. I did soak these down with WD-40 before I pulled them out. This one up here, it is 1 1/8". Use the same swivel, the swivel extension deal on my impact, and they both came out fairly easy. So, oh, I forgot to mention the cotter pin on this. You can either cut it off, they can be real hard to get off, or you can spray it with WD-40, take some vice grips and put it on the end over here, put vice grips there, and then hit your vice grips with a hammer and it'll push it out. Don't really matter which way you do it, but yeah. So now I'm gonna take my air hammer, come over here and push down this old ball joint, and it should just pop this out. I did try to do some relief taps with my hammer. Just go around both where the ball joint seats or sits. I just hit that way with a hammer, break some of the pressure loose, break it loose a little bit, loosen it up, and then yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna take my air hammer up here and knock those out, and then we're gonna go press them out of the actual knuckle. We got our knuckle here in the vise where we're gonna try to remove these ball joints. What you wanna do is the snap ring was in here. Spray that with some WD-40, take a screwdriver and a hammer and like work it loose. And then you'll take your snap ring pliers and you'll pull that out. make sure you got like safety glasses on and you're careful when doing that, because whenever I just did mine, I got it out of the groove and it flung out behind the bench back here. So just be aware of that. And then make sure you got your safety glasses and gloves on whenever you're getting these ball joints out. I'm gonna use an air hammer so it can kind of send little metal pieces if it wants to. I've already got a little bit on there, and you can see that. Whatever method you're using, obviously just be cautious, whether you're heating it up and hitting them out or whatever you're doing. But seems like air hammer, if you got access to one, like this one I got right here, seems like it works pretty good. So we're gonna use it. So now that I have the ball joints out, I have cleaned all of this up where it sits in there. You want to make sure you clean that up very nicely. My camera's being weird right now. But just make sure you clean that up very well. If you're like me and you hit it with the hammer and you messed up the bottom a little bit, you can just take some sandpaper and just polish that out to get your smoothness again. I don't know why I did that, just made more work for myself. But yeah, I just took this little wire wheel and just brushed everything off. You're gonna clean out the insides of these. They're not gonna need much. The main thing is to get this area cleaned out the best you possibly can. That's probably where I spent most of my time. Same thing down here. And then I just ran my wire wheel over the surface of this, knock all the rust and stuff off, and then I kind of buff this a little bit inside of here. I'll probably hit that a little bit more later. But yeah, now I'm gonna move on to the actual axle. I'm gonna pull these seals off of here, and then we're gonna clean this up. All right, guys. Do not forget this part, to clean everything up on the axle as well. I took my my wire wheel and I just brushed that top a little bit, kind of went inside of that, made sure I got this real good, took a small screwdriver and kind of got the dirt and stuff out of all them crevices. Same thing down here, don't forget the bottom of it. Make sure you get that all cleaned out as well. And now we're gonna move on to that axle. All right, guys, we're on to the axle shaft now. I'll be doing a separate portion, doing these U-joints. But as far as getting these seals off, this seal was just sitting on there like that. You can take a hammer and a punch, just go right along here all the way around. Make sure you work it evenly off. Doesn't come off very hard. Obviously put it in the vise first. Same with this one, this little rubber one. You can just take like a, I just use this same punch, but you can take a screwdriver or whatnot, whatever you want to use, and just hit that off of here. And then we're going to do the same type of procedure. We're going to use our wire wheel, and I'm going to clean up this surface. I'm going to clean up this surface. I'm going to kind of clean up all of this stuff on here. Basically just shine it all up, make it all look nice. Whenever we go to reinstall this seal, they redesigned the seal, and you don't actually put it on the axle right here. It's not the same style. We're gonna actually install that separately before. We're gonna install it into the axle instead of the axle shaft. It's kind of different, but I'll show you guys how to do it. Not a big deal. But yeah, just get that all cleaned up and we'll go from there. All right, I forgot to videotape this part, but after you guys have everything all cleaned up, as far as doing these U-joints, what I did was I took a torch and just heat it up around here and then cut through it there. Same thing on the other side. I did that at all 4 joints. So heat it all up and then cut it all out. And you can just take a hammer and a punch or an air hammer, and then you just knock these straight out. You knock them inwards. Try not to get all this stuff like too super hot. I got my stuff pretty hot. Not on purpose, but it all worked out good. And then if you got a vise or a hydraulic press, you can just press your new ones in. what I did is I put it in here first, and I pressed these two in, got my snap rings in, and then I did the same procedure on this one. Not super difficult. Like I said, you could do it with a vise or a hydraulic press. Just make sure you clean this inside up here. Clean it all four places. Make sure you clean where your snap ring sits. That way it can properly seat, and make sure you get your snap rings all the way in there. And then as far as the ball joints on here, yeah, so we got a nice snap-on ball joint press kit right here.
Harbor Freight has a good one that works too.
Yeah, Harbor Freight's got a good one.
Got one of them as well.
So we use this one. It's real nice. And then an air impact. So the way we got it set up here, we had to do this one first. That way we could get our tool inside of this lower joint. Kind of like just like that, with your proper
right adapters,
spacers and whatnot.
Then we put that one in first.
Yeah, we did that one first, and then do the bottom one second, or however it works with your guys' kits. But make sure you get those properly seated. Obviously, make sure you clean it all out good before you install those. If you have any burrs from hitting it out with a hammer, make sure you clean that up. Take a little bit of some fine grit sandpaper, polish everything up, and then press those in. There's not a lot to it. Just make sure it's all properly seated. Make sure you can get your snap ring in there good. Make sure it seats all the way. And then that's about it.
What did you use?
We use all Moog stuff. So those are Moog ball joints, and then just a Spicer U joint. But yeah, it all went together pretty smooth. So now we're gonna go install it. All right, we're gonna be installing this seal. It replaces the one on the axle shaft. It's just like a dust seal, but they used to press them onto the axle shaft, but now you install them into the actual axle. And then you remove the shim that was on there, or the little spacer. So you want to make sure you work this evenly all the way in there. And when the sound kind of changes, you know it's starting to bottom out. And then you always just look around it. Look around it here, make sure it looks even, and that's how you know you got it all the way seated in there. All right, so now we're gonna be installing this caster shim and the knuckle. So you're gonna put this caster shim in here first. These are from Kryptonite. They are 2-degree shims. So it'll be basically, I believe it's kick our axle or tilt it backwards a little bit, and it helps with bump steer. And it's just a common thing that guys will do whenever you're doing these ball joints and rebuilding the front end. So I'm gonna put this in here first. It says that the slotted part is designed to go towards the rear of the vehicle. So we're gonna install it just how the instructions say. There we go. That looks pretty good right there. So now we're just gonna set this up in here. Make sure you align both of your ball joints as you go up in there. Make sure it goes straight. And then I'm gonna start this bottom nut. It is a lock nut, so you gotta make sure you got the right side upwards. I'm gonna start that one. And we're gonna go ahead and throw this one up here on top. And then I'm gonna hit those probably with an impact a little bit, just to get them all the way seated in there. And then we are going to torque those down. I'll have to pull up the torque spec on them, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. All right, so on this lower one, it says to do it first. So the ball joint was spinning on me, so we put this jack under here. We put it on the ball joint. So jack up a little bit, put pressure on it. That way it doesn't spin anymore. And I actually just started it and hit it with my impact, just to get it going first. And then we're gonna loosen that up a little bit and then go to our actual torque spec. So, I'm gonna take my ratchet here and just loosen it a little bit. I'm gonna take my torque wrench that I have set to 47 foot-pounds. Yeah, 47 foot-pounds. And it basically torqued right away. And now we're gonna go to this top one. This top, no, we shouldn't need this jack anymore. You go to this top one, and we're gonna torque it to 70 foot-pounds, 69 foot-pounds, we'll just go 70. Got our torque wrench set here at 70. All right, straighten this bad boy out. So heard it click there. That's torqued to 70 foot-pounds. So now we're gonna go back to our bottom. We're gonna set this to 150 foot-pounds. Now we got it set to 150 foot-pounds. It's clicking right away. So that's gonna be the torque on both of those. I guess we'll just leave that upper at 70 foot-pounds. That's what it says to do. So yeah, start with your lower, 47 foot-pounds. Upper is 70, and then final step on that lower is 150 foot-pounds. So we got it all torqued properly. Then we can start putting our axle shaft back in. All right, so now we're installing the main seal on this axle shaft here. We got a tool that we use, just like that. Put it over, slides, fits on there perfectly. We just have it rigged up in the vise. So it should be close to being on there. This one goes on pretty hard. So just gotta be careful with it. Make sure it goes on even with whatever you're using to get it on there. All right, so we're gonna make sure we lube everything up before we put this axle shaft back in. So I'm gonna put some oil on this dust seal right here. That way it slides in easily. And then we're gonna put some oil on the axle shaft as well before we go in with it. And then also right around here, just gonna coat it good with oil. That way everything can go nice and smooth. Like I said, put some oil on this. And you want to make sure you go in pretty, try to go in pretty straight with this. All right, so the same tool we used to install that seal onto the axle shaft is the same one we'll use to push it in here. We got it lined up a little bit better now. You know when your splines are lined up because you can twist this axle shaft right here, and it'll spin your drive shaft. I don't think you guys can see the drive shaft, but that's how to know that it's all intertwined together, and that you can actually just hit it in there now, because you don't want to go banging on this if your splines ain't lined up, because then you could damage it all. So you want to make sure it's all lined up first. But now we're gonna go ahead and hit this in there the rest of the way. So it should be good right there. Go till it's flush. All right, so on this installation tool that we got, it also comes with a shim. So you just put the shim in there, and then I'll just drive it a little bit farther in there. So just set that shim in there, put this right back in there like that, and then gives us about another 1/16 inch. Doesn't take a lot there once you have that shim in there. Just make sure it all looks like it went in flush, and then that'll be it. All right, so now we're gonna install our wheel hub. Probably should have went with new wheel hubs on both sides, but mine haven't had any issues, so I'm just gonna leave them. Gonna make sure we oil up this O-ring on here first before we put this in. That way I can just slide right in there. And make sure you got your this little plate right here, make sure you got it orientated correctly. I kept all my stuff in line whenever I took it off a minute ago, so it goes on just like this. And obviously make sure you got your port for your ABS sensor, make sure you got it at the top, obviously. And then we're just gonna slide that right in there. The other side went kind of difficult whenever I did it. So we might have to end up running it in with the nuts. So we're gonna put these nuts on here. We're gonna spray them with WD-40. You can use anise. I think I put anise on the other side, but I got some spray lubricant right here. We're just gonna put on here. Have to look at what the torque spec on these is. Just make sure you tighten it evenly. I'll kind of show that here in just a minute. You spray these ones. But always, whenever you're doing this stuff, it's always a good rule of thumb to use WD-40, some type of lubricant, or anise on all your threads. So we're just gonna pull that one up a little bit in that bottom corner. Then we're gonna go to this top corner. We're just gonna run it in until we see it go flush. Okay, it's flush now. So we're gonna run this bottom one in here. It already looks pretty flush. We're gonna go back over here to this top one. My brake caliper's in the way. looks like it's pretty good and flush, so we're gonna start kind of hammering these down a little bit. Just getting them tight. Like I said, I kind of like to go in a little star pattern. That way you can make sure you tighten this down evenly. And those are tight. I'm gonna look for a torque spec on those. That way I can get them tightened down all the way properly. And then now you can start hooking your hoses back up. This vent hose right here on the actual knuckle. Slip that back on there. And then we can hook this ABS sensor back up. Once we got these torqued down, don't forget that snap ring that goes on your wheel hub. So we're gonna get this snap ring put in next. Should have got a brand new one. Might be able to use the old one, but I got a brand new one here. So gonna go ahead and get it installed. Typically, you're gonna have to pull this axle outwards a little bit to be able to get that snap ring in there. Get that out of the way. You might be able to get in right there. Yeah, there it goes. So if you can get a pry bar in there without disturbing that seal, that's what I just did. And it doesn't come out very hard. You can notice it go outwards about 1/8 of an inch. And then that's where you know your snap ring's ready to go in. Gonna have to use something to push on the bottom of this to get it all the way in there. So it's all the way in there, but okay. All right, we'll just snap back out. So if you have any doubts of whether that snap ring is all the way in there or not, just take it back out and double check it. So it's all the way out. Don't try to force it to come outward anymore if it doesn't want to. I have to use a different tool or something. Okay. Should be close right there, actually. Yep, okay. So you'll hear it go in there, and you'll hear it snap. It's gonna be hard to do this on my phone right here. But as you can see, it's properly seated all the way in there. You can see that groove on those splines. Or not on the splines, but you can see the groove, and then you can see the snap ring is sitting down into there. So that's how you can tell if it's seated or not. And then it's got the same deal on the bottom side where you can view and see that the snap ring is fully in there. So that's gonna be it for that part. And then the rest of the stuff is pretty basic. Hook, like I said, hook your wires back up. And then I'm gonna leave that off. That way, I'm gonna do my tie rod ends, and then the next part would just be your locking hubs. Just get those installed again. It's just those 3 torque screws, not difficult. Do that. Get your brake rotor slid on. Put your brake caliper back on, and then it's pretty easy from there. All that stuff you can just reverse the steps of when you removed it all. That stuff ain't very difficult, but yeah, just make sure you get that snap ring in there, and then get everything squared away, make sure everything's torqued down, and then you'll be good to go.